Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to this week's Winning Wednesday. Started from the bottom. Now we are here. I want you guys to all come in, like this broadcast, share this broadcast. We've got somebody who is winning, and they are a professional at winning. They are professional at talking to winners, and we want you to listen in tonight so that you can take some nuggets from this conversation to help you win. So as I share this broadcast and start some watch parties, I want you to do the same. So like, share as you come in, tell us where you're watching from. And know that we're about to have a good time tonight. If you know my guest tonight, you know that it is going to be, we finna laugh. We're going to give you some encouragement, but we are going to laugh. Childhood friend. But before we go into my guest tonight, I do want to do a small business feature, and I do want to do a shout out to Alicia Henderson at Final Look Editing. It's the end of the year, and like I said on my Facebook status, we are 9 months into this pandemic. It is time for you to birth something. At the end of 9 months, you birth something, and I pray that you have been working on something to be productive. So for those of you that are looking forward to producing a book at the end of this pandemic, or even in the near future, or maybe you need assistance with writing, whether it's grant writing or anything of that nature, check out Alicia Henderson at Final Look Editing. You can find her on Facebook. That's Final Look Editing for all of your editing needs. We want to support our small-owned businesses because even during this pandemic, they are the ones that have suffered the most. Amazon, Walmart, Target, the big box stores have made billions of dollars off of us because of our small businesses are closing. So let us support our entrepreneurs and small businesses. All right. So again, it is Winning Wednesday. And I have a special co-host tonight, someone that I have grown up with. I've watched over the years. I have seen his success, and I can tell you just the tremendous amount of growth in him. I do believe that he is somebody that can pour into us tonight and share some encouragement to help us win. So without further ado, I want us all to welcome none other than, and if you're a sports fanatic, you know exactly who he is. You've seen his face on a TV screen or two or three. If you watch basketball, if you watch Yahoo, if you watch TNT, you have seen him. But if you haven't watched any sports, because you might not like to watch sports, just maybe you grew up in Southwest Fresno, you know this guy. And so without further ado, I want to introduce tonight my co-host, and this is none other than Chris Haynes, who is the Yahoo NBA reporter and a TNT sideline reporter. Yeah, we got somebody from Fresno that is doing it big on the sideline. C. Haynes, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, Sister Tish, how you doing? Thanks for having me on, girl. It's been a while.
Did you do that? Starting this early with the jokes, though? I just brought you on the show. You already started.
Oh, now you said we're gonna come with some laughs, but it's all good. Now, thanks for having me, girl.
Yeah, thank you for taking a break out of your busy schedule. The NBA finally let you out that bubble.
That was brutal.
Before we go further into any other conversation, because this is just two friends just catching up talking tonight, tell us what that bubble was like.
Well, I got there, let me see, I got there June 29th, and I got out.
Where's there?
The bubble was in Walt Disney, Florida.
Oh, goodness. So you was a far way away from home.
Yeah, so, I try to forget that period.
So it was that bad?
Man, look, it's 3.5 months. And, I ain't got my woman with me that whole time. So come on now.
Wait, Charlotte wasn't invited to the bubble?
She wasn't invited. And I'm going to tell you that it's messed up because, I have my bones to pick with the NBA. Look, it went off. It was well.
Are you going to cause me to have a lawsuit because you're going to go off on the NBA?
I'm not having a lawsuit. No, I'm speaking the truth. I ain't said nothing that nobody else was thinking. So I would say this. Look, it was a good procedure in getting the NBA started. And they were able to crown a champion. So it lasted for 3.5 months. They did what they needed to do. My only problem was that they allowed the players to have their wives and girlfriends, family to come over probably about 2 months into the bubble.
Okay.
So that didn't help. That just didn't help matters. Just seeing
everybody else boot up, and I'm going home.
Boot up happy. You know what I mean? Women looking all good because they try to compete with all the other women that's out there. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, you seeing all that, seeing them reunited with their kids, and you're like, dang, I can't. I still got another month and a half of time to do, but. It was cool. It was a good experience, but I wouldn't.
You was posted on social media getting haircuts. You had a personal barber and everything. You was living the life.
Man, that barber, look, I'll say that barber, that haircut was like $80 a week because I had to get a cut each week. So it wasn't. Look, that's the thing about social media. Social media is the warts don't show on social media. It's all the highlights, but it wasn't much I can do over there. You know what I mean? I'm riding a bike, working out.
Like a bicycle?
Riding a bike. That was like the highlight of the bubble. There wasn't much you can do. And so, you try to make the best of it. But like I said, I wouldn't do it again.
Not if they paid you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't say that, they pay right,
You mess up your contract if they got to do the bubble next year.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're starting the season, over with without the bubble assistance, and already 48 players that tested positive. So We'll see if they can finish this out.
Wow. Well, our prayers and hearts, and we go out to those that are affected by COVID-19. For those that said, I heard lately that COVID is a conspiracy theory. Remember when COVID first came out? It was all kind of conspiracies. This is a conspiracy, and I ain't heard that lately at all.
I mean, too many people have left this earth, based off a conspiracy theory. And the president, I think he was one of the main ones, kind of pushing that narrative initially. He ended up catching COVID himself.
So his reporters said.
So they say. He made a incredible. He recovered incredibly.
Right, yeah. A quick one.
So look, man. I'm thankful to say I didn't lose anybody that I spoke on a daily basis, but I lost a ton of people that I just came in contact with, seeing them probably every other month or something like that. So I definitely seen it affect families and friends, and it's definitely something you don't play with. But I'm hopefully I didn't think we'll be here, Tish, be here in December, and we're still, some states are in lockdown mode. So I don't know, when the end is coming.
It's coming soon and very soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's coming. So one of the things that those of us that know you know that in high school, you love basketball. Yeah. And you couldn't tell nobody you wasn't going pro. You couldn't tell nobody you wasn't going pro. How and whatsoever, you didn't go pro. But you started working for the pros. Yeah. How did you handle taking that? Like, at what point did you come to the realization, I'm not going to go pro? And how did you handle that disappointment?
Well, that came when I was that came later. So that came when I was probably about 23. I was playing at Fresno Pacific, and coach wasn't giving me no run. Like, I had a full scholarship, full basketball scholarship.
What?
Yeah, Fresno Pacific. Yeah, I got a basketball scholarship at Fresno Pacific. And coach wasn't giving me, I had a full scholarship. Coach didn't give me any run. And that's where I met Jessica. Shout out to First Lady Jessica. Yeah, that's where I met her. And so she'll tell you I didn't get no run over there. And it was like I still had, I still had hope. Man, I just need one shot to get in there. So anyways, a whole year went. I really didn't get any run besides mop-up duty. Then the next year, the coach was like, you know what? For people who don't know this, for kids that's going into college that's getting these full scholarships, let's remember this. Well, I want to tell you this, that when you get a full scholarship, it's not a full scholarship for all 4 years. It's a full scholarship on a year-to-year basis. So the coach has the right to change your scholarship amount or take it away. So after that year, which was my sophomore year at Fresno Pacific, going into my junior year, my coach was like, you really wasn't as productive as we thought. we're going to need this full scholarship for somebody else. And so, we can give you a partial, which was about, I can't remember how much the figure was, but Fresno Pacific's a private institution. It's expensive to go there. So I quit. I was like, nah, I'm done with hoops. So that was like the first time that I realized that pros weren't in the cards. That's the first time I knew that it was like confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, Tish, I started working. I worked at like Napa Auto Parts. I worked at as a high school coach, basketball at Clovis North, and basketball was always in my blood. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Hassan Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a professor at Fresno State. So I ended up going to Fresno State, transferring there, finishing school. But he had a journalism class, and I needed to take that class to get my degree. It was African American journalism class, and basically I'd never written before in my life, never wrote before, and I love telling our story on predominantly African American history, our culture. I love writing about it, and that's where the passion for writing began. And then from there, I just started, seeing if it could translate into sport writing, and that's kind of how I got my bug to try to go pursue the NBA dream, and on a different scale.
So you wanted to go pro, couldn't technically go pro because he didn't see that gift in you. You wasn't good enough.
I didn't have a gift. Yeah, it didn't see. I didn't have the gift.
You sound like one of my kids. I ain't gonna say their name. They showed me their name tonight. But somebody else came along and saw a gift in you, and so you graduate from Fresno State.
Yeah,
I think we were at Fresno State at the same time.
That's right. That's right.
Graduate from Fresno State.
That's right.
We went to church together, go to Fresno State together, and now listen. My child know that I'm on live. The one child that we talking about is texting me as if he's dying, as if he don't know that I'm on live.
I mean, but you're his mom 24/7, so he was in his right.
You want to know what he's probably gonna say?
What time is it?
He's gonna say, "Mom, I need new shoelaces." He's probably gonna say something like
that. Okay.
He just left here. He's all right.
I already know how it is.
Hey, Kim, shout out to Kim that was watching. She went to church with us as well. We all grew up at the Witness of Jesus Christ Church. If anybody knows anything about the West Side, that is one of the oldest churches, our pillars in the community in Southwest Fresno. A lot of the preachers that are apostolic came out of that church. I think it's safe to say that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later, Chris. But so you went into journalism, graduate from Fresno State, and now you're saying, I'm still going to go pro, just not the way that I thought. So now you do an interview, and with who was your first job with?
My first job was my first real job I actually got paid for. That was Comcast Sportsnet in Portland. So I
remember you writing something about that, saying everybody saw me on TV, but I didn't make no money. I could barely afford to live.
Yeah, so I graduated in kinesiology because my goal was to be a PE teacher and a coach. And then I realized coaching, I coached for a whole year at Clovis North, and I did the math at the end of that year. And I realized my pay was about 75 cents an hour. If you add up all the games, the hours of practice, fundraisers, and things like that. So I'm like, you know what? I don't love coaching that much. You know what I mean? That's what I realized. Hey, I love the kids, but if I'm putting my time out there, away from the family, man, I gotta, it gotta make sense.
Yeah,
it has to. And so, anyways, I went out to Portland because I was in Fresno my whole life. Never really left aside from attending junior college in Sac City, but really never been out of Fresno. And so we picked Portland because I felt like I had to be in the NBA market because people were saying that they would give me a shot, but I got to be in the NBA market. LA was just too big for me. I just couldn't think of going to LA. Sacramento, I've been there. Where else? That's it in California. So I picked Portland. I was like, let me go to Portland. But the thing I found out, Tish, is while I was pursuing writing, so I hooked up with a Slam Online, which they credentialed me, which means that they got me into games for the Trailblazers, but they didn't pay me at all for a whole year because I was new. you know, so I was trying to work my way and build it up. But in the meantime, I needed to work, and I could not find a job. Like here I am with this degree, graduated with honors, and I can't get a P job. I just can't get a job that fit my degree. So I ended up being a security guard. I was a security guard for a high school during the day and at an apartment complex. And then at night, I'll go cover Portland Trailblazers games for free at night. So I did that for a year for free. Wow. And then that led to, after a year, getting picked up by Comcast Sportsnet to cover the Blazers home and away.
But even after that, you still didn't make you didn't have the best contract. You still had to struggle, which goes back to what you were saying earlier. Don't look at the social media. That just because it's posted don't mean it's all that you think it is.
It's not. I mean, it's not intended. It's not intended to be that anyways. But I think people need to understand that, you know, you post your highlights. Nobody's going to really post their lowlights.
Right.
And that's what it's about. And it's about being engaged in it and promoting your brand. But, you know, it's funny. So I was on welfare probably leading up to getting that job. You know, I just had to make ends meet. I wasn't making enough. Mm-hmm. And I remember my wife told me, Charlotte, she told me, or people that know her, Nikki, she told me, like, when Comcast brought me in for the interview, after a year for working for free, they brought me in the interview. And she told me before I went in, she's like, do not take the first offer. Like, don't take the first offer. And I'm like, all right, cool. I've never been no negotiation. I've never been. So I go, and I'm not thinking they're going to make an offer. And so they made an offer. And I was like, cool, I'll take it. They was like, all right, good.
Hard-headed.
Hey, no, they was like, I'll take it. And I was like, yeah, you're going to be flying, you know, all around the country, you know, home and road, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cool, I'll take it. They was like, all right, 30,000. I'll take it. 30,000, man.
Wife and kids at $30,000.
Listen, check this out. I was taking care of wife and kids off the little I was making. 30,000 seemed like a lot of money for me at that time. You know what I mean? I never made 30,000, so I took that bad boy. And so I got home, she was heated.
You didn't take off the drive home, like how I'm explaining to my wife. I didn't take her.
Look, I just got through working for free. I was working at a job that I didn't like as a security guard, getting cussed out by kids, and I can't put no hands on them. I need to get out. Like, so, you know, look, and that's the thing. Like, when you start negotiations, especially when you want to get to your next deal,
right?
They always look at the past deal you had.
Why would I pay you $50,000? They only paid you $30,000.
Exactly. So I might have started off. Yeah. So I started off my financial trajectory on a bad note, but we good now. You know, we learn.
All things work together for the good. Yeah. You learned that lesson. That's the highlight of Winning Wednesday. That's where we talk about the loss to set you up for a win. You lost that time, but you winning.
and it's funny, Tish. It's funny to, you know, back to social media. Like, so when I got that job, I'm on TV in Portland 3-4 times a week, and I'm like, Tish, I've never traveled. Like, I've been on a plane once.
Prior
to being a reporter. So I'm like 29 at this point. And so it's just like everything is so overwhelming. Remember, I'm only a year into really writing. I'm not a professional writer. And so all of a sudden I'm thrust into all of this. And it was tough. It was brutal. And like, when you're a writer, and I didn't have like an editor that at the time that would, you know, you're supposed to have a process of you write your story, send it to your editor, they look at it, they send it to their copy editor, then it gets published. My stuff was going straight online. So, man, I hate to go back and look at some of my first copies because I remember the comment section, man. It was comments. Boy, hey, that's one thing. That's before social media. Oh, boy, those comments. Man, people are man, and that's Tish. This is where my West Side, like, West Side tenacity kicks in because social media, like, I love it, but I hate it because people don't have any. People are not held responsible for what they say. Yeah, you know what I mean. There's no accountability on social media because the way we were raised, if you're gonna say something,
you better make
say
sure
face. Yeah, you say it to his person's face, or if you say something, we're going to hear about it, and you have to, you will be approached. Period. Right. And so, but you were held accountable because if you said something, you knew you may have to see that person. On social media, people say things all the time, just some crazy stuff. And initially, it took me a while to like not let it get me riled up and heated. I'm looking up people. I'm like, man, where they stay at, man? Where I'm gonna run up, where I'm gonna run up on them at. You know what I mean? And it's funny, but all these people that say all this crazy stuff on social media, I've never had them say that to me, when they see me out in public. And I know they have. And sometimes, Tish, I'll play with them. Like, they'll say something foul. And then I'll respond in their DM, say something like, hey, that was funny. Good one. And they'll reply back, oh, I can't believe you saw that. Oh, I'm such a big fan. So a lot of them just want some attention. You know what I mean? They really look at you as people they can't get to, or they're saying things not knowing that you're really going to see it because they just don't view you as a person. Yeah. So that's my love and hate relationship with social media, man.
I think the Lord was preparing you because I have a vivid memory of Easter one year. And I remember you and Terrence were standing behind me for the children's choir, and I don't know if it was your mom or Sister Pal that was teaching us the Easter song. But the words were from birth to earth. Birth to earth. Like, I can't even say it, but you couldn't say it.
Oh, for real? It sounds hard now. No, I still have that. My THs still come out to be Fs. So
you could not say it for nothing. And
is that right?
Parents talked about you so bad. Terrence talked about you so bad. So when I saw you on TV, I was like, he can't even say birth. What is he doing?
I'm telling you right now, there's still some words I stay away from. It hasn't changed much. I'll say this to that. But first of all, get on Terrence. Shout out to Terrence.
Yes, shout out to Terrence.
Who didn't Terrence get on while we were growing up?
All of us. He got everyone. That's the reason why you're able to deal with them social media bullies today. Thanks, Terrence.
Yeah, because Terrence, hey, I want to say this. Shout out to Angela Gross. Do you remember Angela Gross, Tish?
Yes.
She whooped Terrence's butt in church, right? In church. You don't remember that, huh, Tish?
No.
Oh, my God.
Somebody tag Terrence and let him know we talking about him.
I'm going to send him this link. Hey, baby, I'm going to send him this link. But, yeah, that's social media. I mean, it's just trying to get up to speed and get adjusted to it, but,
So what was that moment that you was just like, you know what? I got more to do. I'm bigger than this. I don't have to worry about these. Because like you said, they are brutal. Social media is brutal. Yeah. Like they just are. At what point, like, was there that moment that you was like, I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to worry about this. What was that moment?
Really, I mean, you think about it. The people who have time to engage in these activities, verbal activities, man, they're at home in mama house. They're in the basement. They wishing they're in your position. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like I said, a lot of them are fans.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's why I said a lot of times I'll go back to them in DM just to let them know I saw it. Mm-hmm. And they'll be all surprised. Oh, I was just playing, or I'm a big fan, and blah, blah. And so that's when I was like, okay, I can't take this personal. You know what I mean? Because it's not, they don't view you as a person. They view you like when people talking about, they always ask me, well, what is it like with, being around LeBron or Kevin Durant or whatever? I'm like, man, they people. They just tall people. You know what I'm saying? Tall people with a lot of money. But at the end of the day, they're people. But if you're not around them all the time or not used to being around prominent people, you have a hard time viewing that person as a human being. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so when a player is having a bad game, it's easy for people to just cuss out and cuss your mama out and F you, blah, 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 because you're not attached. You don't view them you view them as somebody you will never, ever meet. You view them as somebody who will never see what you're saying. So then you can do that. But I was just raised on accountability, raised on it wasn't this tweeting stuff,
Mhm.
and so I just had to get used to that. So once I just realized, they're just detached from you. They don't really believe that, because if they did, I would have had some, interactions in person, because I'm out there. They could come
He
and
from
have.
the hood. He from the hood.
I might let them know sometimes, Tish, but it is what it is.
We're talking about once you got your first real job, you were flying, you were everywhere. It became overwhelming. And even now, like we're talking about, we see the social media, we see you interviewing. I think you had that one particular contract where you were specifically assigned to, was it LeBron James? So we see that. We see you we see you on the sidelines. We see you on TV, and it looks like it's all glamour. On this end, the bubble looked amazing. On your end, you was like, no, this was hell. Would never do it again. But at what point, the Bible tells us, to whom much is given, much is required. Has it ever felt like too much, or that you didn't deserve it? Or you know what? I just want to walk away from this. I just want to be C. Haynes. I don't want all of this.
I'll say this. So it's probably this past year, I started doing some reflecting on my career, the sacrifices that were made. And I started at 29, and I'm 39 now. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. The money, I've been blessed. Just bought a new house, first time owning a home.
Congratulations, a Black family owning homes. Like that alone is an achievement of itself.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm ecstatic about that. We just moved in a couple of days ago. Look, I grew up on the West, and we didn't have much, but
Mark said you're 42.
You sound 42?
That's what he said.
Okay.
I think he might know.
Well, first of all, Tish, you can fact check on that. You know I ain't 42. That makes me what? 3 years old? No, I ain't gonna put your age out there. But no, I'm
focus on the question.
My brother Mark, I love you, boy. But no, I was just saying that I love what the career has afforded to me and my family. I remember, I don't mean to be long with it, but I want to say this.
Say what you got to say. This is my show.
Okay. I don't want to be kicked off. I want to be invited again.
Say that again.
I want to be invited again, so I want to make sure I obey the rules.
As long as you don't talk about me like Terrence did, you'll be invited back.
We good, Tish. So my dad, I'm gonna just say it, but my dad grew up. His father really wasn't around like that. He didn't grow up living with his dad. My mom didn't grow up with her dad, and so they both came from broken homes for the most part. And then they came together and had me and my brother, and I was the first, just like my wife was the first to graduate from college in our family. And I've never traveled or anything like that before. And what I'm saying is just like starting off with a foundation that continues to travel and continues to get better. And my kids have been all over the United States, seeing a lot of things that I didn't get to see. They're both going to college. Both got accepted into Clark. My daughter, my Justice is 18. My daughter Jasmine, she'll be 17 tomorrow. So she's looking at Howard, Clark, and some other schools, and they're just on a wavelength that I just didn't even come close to being on when I was their age. They just seen a whole lot and been exposed to a lot. And so with all that said, with all the accomplishments, my family being afforded a pretty good life compared to me and compared to my parents, these 10 years have been a blur. And my 30s have just went like that, because once I got in this business at 29, it's been nonstop work. I covered the Blazers 4 years. I covered the Cavs, went to Cleveland 2 years, went to ESPN, covered the Warriors for 2. And then I've been at Yahoo and TNT for the last 2 years. So that's 10 years like that. And one thing about being a reporter, it's not a regular job. It's not an 8 to 5, 9 to 5. You working nonstop. I'm breaking stories, getting interviews 10 at night, 11 at night. There's been so many, from me being on the road, there's been so many activities that I missed from my daughters. I missed a ton. they've had a great life, but I haven't been there really. And that's one of the things that I look back on and like, would I change it? Probably not. But I would have probably tried to just incorporate myself as much as I can. But look, it's easier said than done. It was hard for me because I came from nothing and I didn't want to go back to nothing. So it was hard for me to take my foot off the gas once I got in there. And so now I'm just in the part like, damn, like what's next? You know what I mean? Like just trying to really figure things out. So that's where I'm kind of at in my mindset as far as where I've come from there to now.
I think those of us that know you, one of the things that I can say that I've admired about you, more so now than ever, is the simple fact of how humble you are. Regardless of the fact that you are literally on the sidelines with some of the greatest in the game, you still come back home and you still treat home as if it's home, and you still have maintained relationships. And so that's one of the things that I can say that I've admired about you. Just because you got to the top, and I'm not even going to say you at the top yet, just because you've achieved some notoriety, you never forgot where you've come from.
No, thanks. So, I love my city.
So help us understand how you were able to keep that as your, because we have a lot of those that forget where they come from. They forget the friends. They forget the ones that was there on the welfare days. They forget the ones that was there when you had nothing. Like you had to ride in my car and you didn't have no gas money, and I didn't have gas money either, but you was in my car. Yeah. But now that you not on welfare no more and you get minimum wage, you forgot who I was. How were you able to manage that, still being that person?
Cause I don't feel that far removed. Like I moved out of Fresno 10 years ago or 10 or 11 years ago. I don't feel that far removed from Fresno, and I love my city, man. I've there's some difficult parts about growing up where we came up at, and there's some difficult parts about growing up in strict apostolic churches and households.
Listen, I'm see my face, I'm going to hell.
Yeah,
I'm going to hell.
Yeah, I see that. I see that lipstick.
My nails too long and they too bright too.
The way we came up, it was just it was tough. But I love my city, man. Like I'll say this. So one thing that's difficult for me in aspects of life, I mean, everybody goes through it, but it hits me hard is death. I've been experiencing death since I was in 8th grade. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about your old grandparents. I'm talking about friends getting killed and gang violence and all that stuff. And so it's always something. And it's difficult on me. It's really difficult on me. And I've been through it a ton, and I also suffer from seeing other people that who have to deal with that and cope with that. And so one thing I've kind of done, I don't know if it's called my ministry or anything like that, but I am a writer. And so like if there is somebody who I feel like is near and dear to my heart, a family that may be near and dear to my heart, or the person who passed away, I felt like, I'll send dinner, for the family for a few days, or I'll write something about them on Facebook to try to, because I know how it is, like when you're stuck in you're stuck into a situation where somebody close to you has passed and you're just fixated on that for how long. Mm-hmm. And I know how important it is or how good it feels to get your mind off of it just for even if it's 10 minutes, mm-hmm. right? So if I can do something for a family, or if I can write something about a family just from my experience of being around that person, that just to make that family read that for 10 minutes and have them feel good about it or share it, or, shout somebody out on TV, I feel like I'm at least helping. It's not going to solve anything. And, I got deaths that I still haven't come to grips with. I lost my cousin, Tasha Thomas, in February due to cancer. I lost my cousin Dwayne Young about 10 years ago that I haven't processed. It's a bunch of them. I just like, it's helped that I've had this job to keep myself busy. But the bad thing is I haven't dealt with it. And so when I see other people going through that, I have a heart to try to extend some type of relief. And so, I just love my city. I love my people, man. And I know what they're going through because I was going through, through that stuff not too long ago.
One thing you said was you don't know if this is your ministry, but the gift that you have of writing, I think I recognized it when you did a tribute to my cousin Dave Kingsby. Beautiful tribute, well written, and I was like, it feels like I'm reading a story out of People magazine, out of Time magazine. Beautiful tribute, and that is a gift that has been given to you, and it can only be given from one person, one place. But with that being said, we did talk about our upbringing and your parents. They are pillars to this very day in my grandparents' church, the church that they had founded. They have been pillars for years. The church wouldn't be half of what it is without their contribution. But they are both ministers and they're both preachers in their own right. My question to you is, with them both being preachers, did you ever think that you were supposed to preach? Because, you kind of technically doing that on the sideline,
No. No. Every now and then, man, and I hate when it happens, but every now and then I'll have somebody come and say, you're supposed to be a pastor. I'm not receiving that. I don't.
Are you running away from the call of God on your life?
It's only a couple people. I can't say those couple people are extending that calling. So I haven't felt that. No. So no. But no. To answer, I never wanted to be a pastor. No. I ran from church, man. I didn't want to be in church. Like Tish, growing up, like we went to church
all the time.
All the time, man. 3-4 days a week. And Sunday, please, I laugh at people when they go to church on Sunday talking about church too long. Church too long. We went to church. Sunday school started at 8:39. We didn't get out 2:30, and on some days maybe 3. And then you know what? We came back for Sunday night. Sunday night church.
Right.
Come on now. So I was like,
don't let us be having a Christmas play because we got to be back before service for rehearsal.
Man, come on, man. And that's what I used to hate. Look, I resented church growing up, to be honest. And I didn't like it for those reasons, but also because really I had a 1-day weekend. So I'm going through school Monday through Friday. Saturday is my only real day. Because Sunday is church all day.
Plan for you.
Man, exactly. So so I didn't have any aspirations of being a pastor. And those are the things like my parents, and that's how people are in general. But when you get older, you start letting things slide. Like so, growing up in church in the 80s, in the apostolic church, where I remember my dad used to say, like when he first got, because my mom was saved way before my dad. So my dad used to drink, smoke, and do whatever.
I didn't know that. I learned something new tonight. I could never see him doing it. He's always been saved. I was a kid. He was always saved.
Oh man.
All right, Minister Haynes.
My dad tried pretty much everything out there. No, my dad.
The Lord has brought him from a mighty long way, from afar.
Yeah, he did. And it's funny because when he just got saved, when him and mom got married, my dad was probably saved for maybe a year. And so there would be some times back in the day that some music come on, I don't know what it was playing, and my dad would start tapping his foot.
Yep, that's it.
And my mom is like, Bruce, you go to hell. You go to hell. Don't be tapping your foot to those worldly songs. You know what I mean? And so my dad, so my mom, like, it was a real strict background. You know what I mean? Like,
to this day, don't even wear pants.
No, who?
Your mom. I told somebody that the other day. I ain't never seen my mom in pants. My grandma either.
Oh yeah, I'm about to say. I thought you said you seen my mom in pants. I'm like,
no, I ain't never seen your mom in pants. You don't do that. No.
Hey, and back in the day, like we had to hide the fact that we had a TV. I don't
remember that.
You were supposed
to have a TV in my house.
Man, you weren't supposed to have a TV in your house.
I didn't. We always had. I had a TV in my room. We all had TVs in each one of our rooms. So
oh man,
that was the determining factor for hell. Then the whole Harris family is hellbound.
We all were. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, and so growing up with trying to live to those expectations and meet those standards, which really you can't meet those, man. Like you can't. And so that was difficult for me. So for a lot of those reasons, I kind of resented church growing up. I didn't want to go.
So you still resent church?
No, I don't resent church. It was
God, even though you resented church, you still love God.
Oh, definitely. I love God. I just didn't like the whole process of going all the time. And I would like, it's funny because I would go to school and they were ask me like, what'd you do Sunday? What'd you do Sunday? I'm like, man, I was at my grandma's house. I was at my grandma's house all day. I was, and I played the drums growing up, Tish.
You sure did.
So I started playing like really when I was 5 or 6, like for the church. And I remember when I would play drums on Sunday and I would see like visitors walk into the church and it'd be a visitor who I went to school with. And I would like try to duck behind the drums. You know what I mean? I didn't want them seeing me.
I know you was a church boy.
Oh, I didn't want them church boy because that mess up the whole, like, that makes up your whole image, man. I'm trying to be hard. It's hard out here, man.
You can't be hard and be a church boy.
Yeah, it's hard out here, man. I love my parents, but I was an old-fashioned boy. I had old-fashioned clothes and things like that. So I wasn't like up to date, like everybody else.
You ran quick.
Man, I ran a lot too, Tish. It was something else. But no, for real, like my foundation, like my Christian background, I love it. Those are the best times of my life, being in church, even though I resented going in the process. But, that was, man, those were some of the best times. And the music, music is in my blood. So I missed that old music. I missed the old time music. I'm not really into like
this new church.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't I really like.
Why are the lights off? Are we at the club?
Man, I can't. I just
turn the lights on and turn the smoke off.
I can't do it, Tish. I can't. I can't feel it. Like if I can't feel it, and I know I'm supposed to be listening to the pastor.
No, you can't. I can't see my Bible if you don't turn the light off.
Oh man, I'm not into it, man. So that's why, like, I'm old school like that. And but no, I love the Lord and the God. Look, all my career, like, there's no way in the world that I'm doing the things I'm doing right now without God. Like, His favor has been on my life, period. Without Him stepping into a career like this with no formal experience before, like, it's nothing but Him. So I give Him praise and honor for all of that. But I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress.
He ain't gonna be done working until you done.
Man, because this can't be the finished product. I tell you that. I'm messed up. I'm screwed up, Tish.
Wait, what? Well, yeah, you just did tell us that you needed counseling. So we gonna after this, we gonna pull Kim on the call. We gonna get some counseling sessions. We gonna get you some therapy.
Oh, I'm just being real.
I'm a believer that Jesus ain't gonna do it all. Some stuff
that's real.
He can't, but He gave us therapists to help us work through that.
That's real.
So, I do want to. So one of the other things, kind of going backtrack, and when we were talking about friends, the young people say now, and I say young people because I feel old. No new friends.
Yeah.
No new friends. Do you even have any new friends? Because all I see is all your old friends.
I'll say this. Yeah, I have a few new friends. But no, I mean, there's ones that's just rooted in me, like, Terrence Hall. That's my brother right there. I have a couple more. I got friends that I got good friends. Felix Hawkins, Jeremy Jackson. I got friends that some friends I take certain places, some I don't. I got those type. You know what I mean? I got those.
No, we ain't going to dinner. My food. We cannot go to dinner.
Yeah, I got those. But look, I think as well. Like, I get that saying, but if you haven't grown or evolved as a human, right? I think if you have, I think it has to reflect in the people that you're around as well. Not to say that the people that I grew up from Fresno are all bad for me, because that's not the case. But as you evolve, like you're in different circles. So you're in different circles, you're automatically going to gravitate to some people. Like it's like Damian Lillard, like that's a brother. Like that's not a friend. That's my brother now. Like nothing but love for this guy. He looks after my family. I look after his. For, plays for the Portland Trailblazers. So I don't believe in that no new friend stuff because look, I'm gonna say this, Tish. I'm gonna say this just about my upbringing, and this is my desire to want to do something back home in Fresno. Is that I remember like I got straight F's in high school because I was trying to do other stuff, but I got straight F's in high school, elementary, all through high school up to elementary, also elementary up to high school. Sorry, and there was this gate class, and it's called gate class back then. It was like all the smart kids class. And you had to have like a 3.0 or whatever. But anyways, this one particular class, the teacher's name is Miss Harvey at Lincoln Elementary. That's the elementary I went to.
I remember y'all talking about her.
Okay. Vanessa Scott, my sister, she was in that class. But every year, her class would go to Washington, D.C. and do the sightsee, whatever. But it was just that class. And I always wanted to go. Remember, I've never traveled really, nothing like that. But I wasn't allowed to go because I wasn't in that class and I didn't have no 3.0 GPA. And I always felt like there was no need for me to leave Fresno. I felt like Fresno had everything. And I only thought that way because that's the only thing I knew. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying everybody needs to leave, but that's not my point. But I just didn't see, like when people were going off to college from high school, I was like, man, what are you going to Tuskegee for? What you going to Clark, man? Go to City, go to Fresno State. You know what I mean? Like I resented people leaving. Mm-hmm. The simple fact that I was like, what you looking for? But my point is, if that gate class, the activity of going to DC, if I was allowed to see something like that in the 6th grade, I think that would have changed my whole mindset on what's out there, what's possible, what's capable, what I can become. Yeah. Because I got such a narrow focus, and mostly my focus is on things that's happening on the West Side. I grew up with my mom and dad, but I look
very fair, especially in Southwest Fresno.
Yeah, no, it is. But just to the point I said, like how I resented church. So I'm gonna be honest, like I didn't really look at my dad like that. I looked at my uncle who was a pimp, I looked up my drug dealer cousins. I looked at, those are the people I looked at.
Yeah.
And so I had such a narrow focus. And my thing is, if we can get kids at a young age to like bust them out, fly them out to certain things, like there are kids, I lived in the Bay, but there are kids that live in Oakland, never been across the bridge to San Francisco. Like things as small as that. Like I wasn't exposed. So when you're not exposed, you can't evolve. And so I think if you stick with just your same friends that you've been around with, I'm not saying that they can be great friends, but there's always room to grow and evolve as a person. And I think there shouldn't be a shut off period for people that you decide to bring into your life.
You said something very, very profound, and I'm writing it down because I'm gonna use it on. I'm gonna use it. Kim says, agreed. Same in LA. They've never even been to the beach. I know even Jeremiah, he's got some friends that will come over. They had never been to River Park. You live in Fresno, You've never been to River Park.
Yeah.
And I remember, having 7 teenage boys at the house. They can eat and they funky, but they can eat. And were eating up all of my food, and I came in the house and I lit them boys up, and they couldn't understand why I was going off. And I said, because I'm paying for all this food. And he was like, well, it's food. You get on food stamps. No. I don't get food stamps. That was the first time he had met somebody that had never been on food stamps. For the first time, that was last year. First time. So a lot of times, like you said, and like I said, that one monumental statement, when you're not exposed, you cannot evolve. And I think just that exposure, even though you got it late in life, we have watched the evolution of Chris Haynes. And fortunately, the evolution has been something beautiful. It's been a masterpiece. It has been a privilege to watch, to see you evolve. But that is the challenge for some of us today. There are some people that are business owners. There are some people that want to write a book. There are some people, whether you want to start a church or whether you want to leave one job or the other, you cannot evolve if you do not expose yourself. You cannot stay where you are. If you stay stagnant, if you stay in that place, you'll always sit there wondering, what if? Will it ever happen? Why are they living their best life and I'm still sitting here living this way? You have got to expose yourself outside of your circle. That's one of my biggest pet peeves about church. Wasn't necessarily that we were in church all day, because I'm still even virtually in church all day, it feels like. But one of my biggest pet peeves are church cliques. I hate going to a church and it feels like it's a clique.
Yeah.
But you can't evolve, because all you guys are doing are tossing around the same ideas, the same thoughts, sharing the same outfits, and nobody has dared to move outside of that circle to be bigger. Yeah. And then when they do decide to move outside of that circle to be bigger, there's some folks that resent them until they learn more. So
that's church folks. And I've seen it because I've been in it my whole life. But we preach not to be judgmental, but we some of the most.
Hi, pretty girl.
Hey, hi. My youngest daughter, Journey. We preach not to be judgmental, but so often we some of the most judgmental people on this world. But I say this too, Tish, to add to that. Like growing up, I hated the Bill Cosby show.
What?
I hated Bill Cosby.
Why?
I didn't see anybody, black folks.
Hello?
I didn't see anybody. I didn't see any families living like that. You know what I mean? Like the Cosby had, Bill's grandparents went to college. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? His dad went to college, and it just passed on. Like I didn't see that, and so I didn't. It was. I mean, that's back then when lovable Bill, not the Bill now.
The Bill that we all looked up to.
Yeah, like you said, Jello Bill. But right. I didn't, I just didn't think that existed. And my first experience, Maisha Riddlespringer, my cousin, she went to, she's like 3 years older than me. She went to Edison though, but she moved to DC. She graduated from UCLA, moved to DC, and she's a principal at a school out there. But my first year covering the Blazers, when they played the Washington Wizards. So I go to DC for the first time ever. She took me to this neighborhood, Tish, and these houses were huge, massive houses. It was like a whole 5-block radius of massive houses, all owned by black people. Mm-hmm. And then it was a Super Bowl party. It was around January. Super Bowl party she took me to, and all these black folks came in, mm-hmm. and they all talking about their colleges and what they pledged, and they were talking about real estate. They were talking about the stock market, and I've never heard black people have these type of conversations, and it tripped me out. I was like, "Hold on, this Cosby stuff does exist. Like this stuff is real.
Like they were aliens or something."
Yeah, no,
commercial with Santa Claus and M&Ms, and they looked at each other and said they do exist.
No, Tish, I was tripping out. My first time going to Atlanta. I stayed downtown Atlanta. First year on the beat. Go to Atlanta. I'm seeing black dudes in suits, wearing suitcases, and going to court. And they're not on trial.
That wasn't a pastor.
That wasn't a pastor, and they wasn't on trial. Yeah. They were attorneys, judges. It tripped me out. I didn't see that from where I came from. Yeah. Like I didn't see that type of black prosperous power anywhere. So it tripped me out. So I'm here at 29, 30, just really recognizing what I've been missing this whole time, man. And I was like kind of down on myself because I was like, I'm 30 and I'm kind of at where I want to be, but there's no telling where I would have been if I was exposed earlier. And a lot of times kids that come from where we come from, look, I'm considered to live in the privileged household, the way I was raised.
Yeah.
But people that came up, yeah, super family, yeah. So that's privilege right there. But other people who came up in that environment, they don't make it, man, because they don't know any better. The only man they know is the man who's selling on the corner, the man that's gang banging, the man that's in jail, whatever. And they're not. And so that's why I got such a heart for my people, man, and my city, because we got some great people, man. Like, we're forced, just by the lack of resources that we have, we're forced to always be creative with everything. Creative with food, creative with playing games outside and try to engage ourselves. And so if we just had, just more exposure to things out there, we can be great. So that's what I want to instill.
That is a very good, profound statement that you're sharing. Just giving them that exposure. And not only that, you don't have to feel like you were behind or what if, because God had you right where he wanted you.
Yeah.
As much as we don't want to hear it.
That's the way to look at it.
But however, you were exposed to that, and now you're able to give your children the life that you didn't have. And furthermore, that gives your grandchildren the life that your grandparents didn't necessarily afford you the option. So, and not only that, not even just necessarily for your children, the kids in the town are looking at you. They can say, you know what? Something good does come out of Southwest Fresno. I don't have to live like this. I don't have to look like this. My future doesn't have to remain like this. I have somebody that I can look at, even if it's on TV, when I'm watching TNT or when I'm watching Yahoo Sports. There's somebody that I can look at and say, he was in the hood in Fresno just like I was, and look where he's at now. So you are that Bill Cosby.
Well, hold on. I ain't Bill now.
You ain't this.
Oh, okay, all right. You gotta be careful with that statement.
No, you ain't the Bill Cosby off the screen. You was the Bill Cosby on the screen.
I understand, but you gotta be careful with that, Tish. You gotta be careful with that. How you throwing that Bill Cosby out there like that?
Okay. All right. Well, no, because you said that you didn't know Bill Cosby existed.
I didn't know that type of lifestyle existed. Yes, in the Black community. Correct.
And so now kids can actually look to you and say, it does exist. I'm gonna find that commercial and post it on your page. Yeah. It does
exist. You crazy. But also there are places for people to stay in Fresno and continue to build it up. Like, everybody doesn't have to leave Fresno. Right. All I'm saying is, I think it's good to leave and expose yourself, not necessarily leave and move out if you may choose to do that, but leave and expose yourself to know what's out there, how things work out there, because it may work better out there than you can implement that in your city.
Right, bring it back home.
Yeah, bring it back home. So there's different ways of doing that.
Because I didn't leave, I'm still here, but I stay with somebody playing.
You stay winning. That's what
I don't post the losses.
but that's right. I mean, look, why should we?
All the breakups, all the divorces, all the red, pink slips, all the repos, the bad. If I have to post that, one day I will. One day I will. If I could tell just a piece of the story, people would look back and say, "Wow,
Tish,
I thought he was winning."
Tish, are we getting on marriage?
No.
We are, Tish.
We had this conversation yesterday.
I have to say this.
You cannot say this online.
It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. Let me say this about marriage here.
Oh Lord, here we go.
About marriage, man.
Look, I'm getting hot.
I'm gonna say this about marriage. I'm gonna tell you. First of all, I'm gonna say it ain't easy. It's not easy. And I'm gonna say this, just from my own personal standpoint, my experience. I got married at 20. 20.
And I was when I got married the first time.
Yeah, 20. So look, I was at a funeral. I'm not gonna say no name, but I was at a funeral a couple years ago, maybe last year, and this person had been married to his wife for over 50 years or whatever, 40, 50 years. And I overheard some people saying, man, that's a blessing to have a marriage. You know, they've been loving marriage for 50 years. And, you know, you just don't see that. And it just shows that, you know, they were just so devoted to each other and all that. You know what I mean? So Anyway, let me just throw this out there on the marriage. Let me just throw this out to people. Because I think people are stepping into marriage, Tish, and they think it's going to be bliss. And not necessarily bliss.
Now, listen, it is not what you see on social media.
Please, I'm not posting my.
As you wake up and be like, can I just smother you with this pillow real quick?
Come on now. Like, come on. Like, if you knew the near divorces that were to happen, what's going to happen, I've been through that, a few times in my marriage. But at the same time, this is what I'm getting to is like marriage is a commitment every single day.
Yes, every day.
You have to choose.
Commitment every hour. Tell the truth.
Exactly. Every hour, every minute. You got to choose to stick with this person.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean, like, if somebody's been married 30, like, so me, I've been married, it's going to be married. I got married 2002. So 18 years.
Wow.
It's going to be 19, whatever. I lost count, whatever. So people think that you've been together so long, it's been great. Rocky 20, you know what I mean? Nah, man, it's just like, look, I'm not saying we haven't been on the brink of divorce a few times, so we have. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying I'm perfect because I'm not. But what we've done thus far and what others have done thus far, they've chosen every single day. And so I think when you get into the marriage and thinking that, I grew up with my mom and dad, and they're still married, and they are not the best marriage by any stretch of the imagination. I seen them fight. I seen them argue more than anything. Wow. But what I've seen is that they've always stuck together.
Yeah.
And that's something that I took with me. So I came into it a mindset in a marriage like, okay, I look at my parents, even though they're not the best and greatest example, but I looked at them and I saw that they were imperfect, but they still stuck it out.
Stuck it out, regardless. I've said the same, even about my parents. I don't want their marriage at all. And it's nothing against their marriage. It doesn't mean that it's bad. I just know that it's not for me.
Not for you.
That's the only thing I want out of their marriage is, despite it all, I'm 37, about to be 38 years old. They'll be married. So I think they're celebrating 40th year. Wow. But in celebrating 40 years, they have stuck it out. I've seen them at their lowest. I've seen them at their worst. And it was that decision every day, regardless of how mad I am. Don't ask me to pour you no extra Pepsi because I done already made your plate and poured you the first glass of Pepsi. You're not going to get no extra one. Get your own. Get it yourself. So I even in the worst of the moments that I still choose you.
Yeah.
So my grandmother, I have a picture of my grandparents, and it is my favorite picture of them. Like, of all the pictures I've ever had. So about 3 years ago, that's when my grandfather passed. He passed the week of Thanksgiving. But leading up to that week, he was in the hospital. And that was I looked over at my grandmother, and she came into the hospital, and the way she cared for him. Like, she cared for him like no other. She didn't care. She didn't want them nurses touching on her husband. She didn't want them doctors telling her what to do with her husband. And she didn't want her husband in the hospital because they're not going to take care of him better than I can take care of him at home.
No doubt.
He always said that my prayer was, once he passed, my prayer was that God keep me healthy so that I can take care of my husband. I can look at them and say that they have said, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Yeah. Like, I can say that I've seen that in both my parents and my grandparents. So that is like some encouragement. When I get married again, divorce is not an option. I will not be an ex-wife again. Yeah. A widow, but not an ex-wife.
No, but when you come up, but look, people make mistakes. You know what I mean? This is life. And that's one thing I've realized as I've gotten older. Like, Tish, it tripped me out. Like, I was talking to Nikki about this a couple days ago, last week. It tripped me out. Like, when I grew up in church, I grew up thinking everybody was just these perfect saints, like these adults. I grew up, perfect saints. And I felt that way and thought that way for a long time because nobody told me any different. Nobody told me how life really is.
And your parents didn't let you go to nobody's house so you could see that they wasn't perfect.
Oh, they did. You know what? And I'll say this. No, and my mom, if she's listening, she would tell you, because we talked about this last week. It's funny we bring this up now. it was like there were some households she brought me over, and those households weren't perfect. The point I'm making is that it took me like when I got to a teenager maybe to really, hold on, that's such and such's third wife. Oh, those aren't his kids. Oh, those aren't. Oh, that deacon has those kids. Oh, like it tripped me out.
But that's because our parents kept us in our place. That was grown folks' business. That wasn't none of our business.
I understand. Well, I understand. But at the same time, and my mom she apologized to me about this. She said, I should have let you know a little bit on, just kept you in a loop on knowing how some things work. Because look, again, my outlook on Christianity and people who are saved are these perfect people. You know what I mean? Like I grew up like, if I cuss, I'm going to hell. You know what I mean? Like if you got saved and then you end up cussing the next day, you backslid. Yeah. You gotta go through the whole process all over. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I grew up around thinking all that stuff. And so if I would have knew that, hold on, everybody's not perfect. I don't have to live by that's such a standard. Then I think church wouldn't have been so grueling for me as a kid. You know what I mean? But to your point, people marry, remarry. That's life, man. We're human. You know what I mean? That stuff goes on. But what I'm talking about in marriage is that I went into marriage looking at a marriage that wasn't perfect. And so I didn't have any grand expectations of thinking, oh, marriage is going to be this special, feel good. No, I saw from over there it wasn't special, feel good for my parents. So I didn't go into it like that. And meanwhile, my wife, she didn't grow up, she didn't know her dad. So she was raised with just her mom. And so when we got together, there was clashing because she telling me how I'm supposed to be a man. And I'm telling her, well, what man have you been around? Like, what do you know what a man's supposed to do? You know what I mean?
The shame.
So, you know, you got all that type of stuff going. You come from different worlds, different backgrounds. You know what I mean? So marriage ain't easy. It's not easy. All I'm saying is that, look, you just got to make a commitment to try to stay the course as much as you can. That's it.
And have a friend like C. Haynes in your corner to tell you, stay committed, stay the course.
Stay the course, man. And look, man, you can get divorced for a lot of reasons. And like I said, man, I'm not perfect. You know, there was times where I felt she was going to leave me. Just look at, especially when you get married young. I got married when I was 20. She was 18.
Wow.
And I've grown and evolved. Yeah, I've grown and evolved since then. She has. So typically, people who get married that young, they do get divorced. Yeah. Because you're not the person you're going to be.
You are. You
don't know. Exactly. So I'm not perfect. It's not, man, my marriage is jacked up just like everybody else jacked up. But we try to stay jacked up together. You know what I mean? We're trying to keep it going.
Whatever we do, we're going to do it together.
We try to keep it going. Because I realize
Henderson is on. Shout out to Alicia Henderson again, as we highlighted from Final Look Editing. But also, you talked about your wife. You guys graduated Fresno State together.
Correct. Yep.
And she graduated with journalism degree as well?
No, she graduated psychology. Okay.
And I saw today something very notable. She launched her beauty vending machines, right?
Thanks for mentioning that, Tish.
Where can we find those? I was like, that's a good idea.
I wish she can. I wish she was doing something in Fresno, but she launched the vending machine, Charlene's Beauty Supply. It's a vending machine filled with black products, black hair products, wigs, and all that type of stuff. And it's all the time. You look at all the black products where we typically buy black products. We buy them from people that's not us. Yes. You know what I mean? So like let's take back our stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But see, these vending machines are in the New Park Mall in Fremont, Newport, California, which is near San Jose. So she's going to transition to starting getting some open up in Fresno. So I'm proud of her. She's doing her thing.
Good stuff. So if you are in that area, go ahead. Even if you're just getting some, because it got edge control. I seen brushes, support black-owned business. But just even in that, just that, like you said, that transition. I don't think at 18 she told you that she wanted to go into business like that.
Nah,
a vending machine business. Because if you would have told me that prior to, I would have been like, a vending machine.
Yeah.
Supplies. But then after I saw it, it made sense. But that transition, you said, she has supported me and told me to not take that first contract, and I did. But she supported me, and now this is my time to support her.
Yeah, no, I have to. Yeah, I have to. And she's passionate about it. You know what I mean? Like you got to still have your time to. You got to give each other their time to go and pursue their dreams and seek out their mission. She allowed me to do that. She sacrificed, man. I had to go to I went from Portland to Cleveland for 2 years. She hated Cleveland, Tish. She was gonna leave me in Cleveland. For real, she told me I'm moving back to California because we couldn't handle the cold. She couldn't handle the snow and all that. So she was gonna leave me. And so I was blessed. Like God just came, ESPN came calling, just happened to come calling. Right time she's gonna leave me in Cleveland. They came calling and said, "Hey, we want you to go cover the Warriors for us at ESPN." And so that's how we were able to move back to California.
Wow. Look at the way that God will open up doors for you. And like you said, she sacrificed. So
yes,
should I get married, I'll be sure to call you for some marriage. Call y'all, because clearly y'all got 18 years in the game. You know something about what you're doing.
I wouldn't tell you much. Hey, stick it out. Like, you did what? Oh, you did what? All right, okay. Let's slide. Tell them I love you. Go sleep. Rest on it. Call me tomorrow.
That ain't gonna work. What if he wrong? What if I'm right?
But how wrong? We all gonna be wrong.
Wrong. There ain't no little wrong or no big wrong. Wrong is wrong.
There's degrees of wrong here.
There ain't no degrees of sin.
Yes, there are degrees of sin, but there are certain things that happens that it's an automatic out if you want to get out.
Okay.
And then there are just wrongs that just happen, and you guys try to move past it, learn from it. Hopefully, he won't do it again. She won't do it again.
And move on.
Yeah, but there are some things that's just like, hey, it's done. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say the degrees are wrong.
Listen. Like I said,
I know.
This time is I will not be an ex-wife, only a widow. This is the definite part, one way or another. Whether
hey, Tish, I hope you don't play a part in becoming a widow. Don't.
I did. That is not my disclaimer.
Okay, all right.
That is not my disclaimer.
Well, okay. Well, you say you ain't gonna be an ex-wife, so all right.
Widow only. We stick this thing. We sticking this next one out. So that's the reason why I got to make sure whoever is next,
I feel you.
They got to see all of my personalities.
Yeah, I feel you.
To make sure 18 years from now, you still want to wake up next to me.
Yeah.
I'm looking for both of y'all before I get married. Kim, I'm trying to tell you, you know what? I did have a conversation about marriage. Kim said somebody got to die. I did have a conversation about marriage the other day, and I want to say this, and this is so far from what the topic is, because this topic was started from the bottom, now we're here. One of the lessons I learned, not from my divorce, but that I've watched from others getting divorced, and this is more so for the ladies. My grandma used to tell us, I don't know if you remember, Chris, she used to tell us, because the kids, of course, will be still in the room with the women when they would have their session. And she would tell the women, you better feed your husband because you don't want him eating at another woman's table. Oh. And I thought for the longest time she talked about real food. for real. I thought it wasn't until I got in my first marriage and I'm cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
My husband got breakfast. If anybody goes back and looks at my ex-husband, my first husband's pictures when we got married and about the first year in, that brother put on some weight because I was cooking breakfast, lunch. It wasn't until the middle of one of my meals that it dawned on me, she wasn't talking about food. She wasn't talking about that kind of food.
Hey, I wouldn't have caught that either at that young age. I wouldn't have caught that metaphor as well.
But she had a way of saying stuff that you just
Yeah.
the message across, and those who knew. But I learned that in marriage. Like once I got older and hearing the issues that, like, what you mean you ain't giving him none? What?
Yeah.
That's your husband. That ain't even in the Bible. you can't withhold. So that if I had to give marital advice to anybody, Kim said I thought they was talking about food too. Marital advice to anybody. Yours is take it out. Mine is to the ladies more so. Feed your husband, feed him well, and feed him often. Don't send him out the house hungry.
You know, I love that advice, boy. That's some. Hey, is that in the Old Testament?
It's in somebody's scripture.
It's man.
At the end of the day, you know that's in the Bible. Like you can't. Like, your body is not your own. It ain't. You guys are one. So if he want it, you want it. If she want it, you want it.
Let me shout out Kim Sears. I went to school with her junior high and high school. She has the most lovely, most nicest mom. Period. Man. Always
family.
Man, no, I know a lot of her family.
Yeah.
The Sears family. My boy Calvin Irvin. Went to school with him, man. That's my dude. So tell moms I said hello, Kim.
Yes. Her daughter and my daughter are good friends. And so good family. So
they live around the corner from me, actually.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah. Your parents still live in Southwest Fresno.
They ain't going nowhere.
I think that's one thing I love about our families, that they didn't need to leave to prove anything to nobody. I'm going to stay right here, and I'm going to show y'all that we're going to be all right.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind leaving, though, but I get your point. I get your point, sis. I get your point.
Listen, because it's some stuff we done talked about that I can't talk about on air right now. So.
I thought we were going there, Tish. I thought we were going there, man.
We're not. No, we had this conversation yesterday.
I respect your wishes.
My real life ain't on social media.
I will respect your wishes.
Now, when you call me after this, that's a whole nother story. Yeah, my real life ain't on social media.
No, I respect it. I'm a reporter. I hold, I protect the
You just better not some news you just can't report.
I will protect my sources. Cool.
Well, Chris, it has been a pleasure with you. I think this was probably one of my longest winning Wednesdays, but it has been a pleasure with having you on. Before we log off tonight, I'm going to give you the opportunity to have the last words, encourage somebody, whoever. I'm giving you this is your final minute. Go ahead. You're a professional now.
You threw me for a loop, but I'll go this route, man. Like, I'm used to experiencing deaths and killings and things going on in my community, but it seems like as we're starting to embrace Black empowerment, support our own, buy Black, that should be translating over to the streets as well. Like we need to get to a point where we're not, walking past one another and, sizing somebody up. Like we really need to start really embracing each other. And I'm talking to everybody, but directly to the young men out there. And because it's getting to a point like, we're being hypocrites, because white folks will say, well, y'all saying all this, but y'all killing your own. And they will continue to harp on that. They will continue to stay on that. And it doesn't justify us not getting the rights that we deserve in this country, but they're always going to harp on that. And we have to do things to change that, man. We got to start loving on each other and doing better, man. Especially, my city, man. I'm always keeping up with what's going on and what families are, facing some difficulties with a lost one. And my heart goes out, man. So that's kind of like where my mindset is at. And I would like to see things change in my city as far as the violence. It's always been going on. Seems like it ticked, it was a bit of a tip up last month. Things were getting crazy. But I'm hopeful, and I'm prayerful that we can get to a point where we're not looking at each other as enemies. That's all I want to say.
That is very powerful, very inspiring. We can't expect our enemy to see us any better than we see ourselves.
No.
We can't. So we're coming up on the Christmas season. It has been a rough year. 2020 has literally taken some people out, and 2020 has tested many of us like it never before. Many of us have gone through things mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially that we would have never imagined. So this Christmas season, be extra mindful to share some love. Like Chris said, speak to that person walking down the street. Just don't avoid them. If you see them in Walmart, don't hide down the next aisle because you don't want to say hi. You never know what somebody is going through. And just your smile, just your kind words could be the very things that helps them get through. So, C. Haynes, again, it has been a pleasure. It has been a privilege. It has been an honor to have you on Winning Wednesday tonight. I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you to your wife and children who have allowed you to give me this time. And just on behalf of Southwest Fresno, I think I can speak for that because I'm still a resident of Southwest Fresno. Thank you for being, I'm not going to say Bill Cosby. Thank you for being what our sons need to see.
Tish, thank you for having me. And before I go, I want to say this. I talked to you about this, man. It was probably 10 years ago, but there needs to be a documentary on the foundation of the Witness of Jesus Christ Church. Like, people don't know you mentioned all the pastors, but musicians too. Musicians, the concerts that used to go, like, you look at most of these successful pastors, musicians that come from Fresno, they all at some point had a stint through Witness. So that should, like, I would want to do something like that.
Well, like, sir, we got a collaboration.
I would love to do something like that.
Like, we got a collaboration.
For sure.
All right. Well, we'll get that worked on. And I do want to give a shout out to all of I'm going to probably go back and tag them in all of this. All of those that came up at the Witness of Jesus Christ Church. You guys I can say for both of us, hold a special place in our heart. We can look back and remember our childhood. It wasn't as bad as we thought it was when we were kids. We can look back and say, thank you for being a part of our foundation.
Sure.
So, any last words before we log off?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you all for sharing Winning Wednesday or watching Winning Wednesday. Again, for those of you that are tuning in late or catching the replay, be sure that you share this because this is some encouragement to help our community, to help Southwest Fresno, not just Southwest Fresno, but to help those that feel like nothing good comes out of Southwest Fresno. We started at the bottom, now we're here. Good night and happy Winning Wednesday.